Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 5. We've made it to the finals on the women's bracket, and we're lucky enough to have a very special guest, a man who took part in the game. May not have the best sleep tonight after going over this game, but it's the head coach of the Acadia Axewomen, Len Harvey. How you doing, Len?
Oh, not too bad. Cooped up. So, yeah, looking forward to this.
Just what you wanted to do. Check out this finals loss, but it'll be a lot of fun. Your girls played really hard, so looking forward to it. We got our usual suspects. Adam Detjen. How you doing, Adam?
I'm doing good. I'm not dressed as well as someone you're about to introduce, though.
That's right. The head coach of the CBU Capers wearing a special jacket this evening. It's Matt Skin. How you doing, Matt?
I got Len Harvey's jacket on. His Twitter account sent it to me for this special taping. Even the right color. It wasn't quite the same color as the final, though. It wasn't quite the same color.
Sharp
like
suit.
Carolina
Oh man, what a suit!
What a suit!
As if 6'6" of you would fit into any suit that I'm wearing.
Len's got his own. He's sponsored by Duggars. You people don't know.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, man. They outfit him preseason all year. Him and Vince Williams are the two best dressed guys in the AUS somehow.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Heard of? Yeah,
that's probably true.
Yeah.
Right on, boys.
I'm trying to decide at what point of this podcast I'm going to take it off. That's the only.
If it gets heated, it just.
Yeah, I know. That's the one.
Wait for Adam to make a bad call, and then.
Exactly.
Oh boy.
Right on, boys. Well, let's get to some basketball here, and UPEI, Acadia, top 2 teams all year long, number 1 and 2 seed. They make it to finals Sunday. Acadia looking to go for 3 straight. UPEI hoping to stop that trend. And I just want to talk about award winners before we get into it, because we did showcase a couple athletes here. AUS MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, is Jenna May Ellsworth. She's on UPEI, big part of that team, obviously. Tim McLeod Award nominee, Kelsey Rice for Acadia. First team All-Stars, Reese Baxendale, Jenna May Ellsworth, and Haley McDonald. Second team All-Star, Jada Vino. And all-rookie team, Lauren Rainford. So to start this ball game off, I think everybody knows about the backcourt battle. And right off the hop, I noticed that Lauren Rainford was going one-on-one defensively with Haley McDonald. And I just thought, Haley had rocked the Scotiabank Center years after year, and they've got a rookie going here. And McDonald actually shakes Rainford a little bit. But what did you think about that matchup, Coach Harvey?
Well, it was not a new matchup. That was, what we'd expected. Lauren's just an outstanding freshman.
Absolutely. She shows
player.
off here with her length and speed.
Yeah, it's just her just how dynamic she is. I think is kind of gives Haley some trouble at times, but they had guarded her with Haley with Rainford twice this season, so that was pretty expected. So she's a pretty solid player.
Yeah.
Hey, before we get into that, Len, my question for you is take the scout out. We know the players on PEI and how good they are. What were the things that you were preparing for PEI? What they do well, and what did you think that they were going to try to do against you guys to slow you down?
They run out so good, that was one of the big things, trying to slow down the run out, and that was, ultimately most of it comes back to if you can stop having live ball turnovers against them, that's their bread and butter, is if they can turn you over or you're doing it to yourself, and you can't get matched or you're cross matched. They just come downhill at you so hard. And then, most of their scout, to be honest, defensively was a lot of personnel stuff, was trying to handle Jenna May and Reese. And, I thought, we'll probably get into it a lot more for sure. But, for us, I was preparing for them to do a lot. I know Matt, he's outstanding, to be honest. But he does, they do what they do. I wasn't expecting to see anything too wild and crazy from UPEI there in terms of schemes and strategies. I thought that, you know, they pound the stone with what they do, and they know what they're really good at, and they are really good at it. So I wasn't too nervous about seeing something that we kind of hadn't seen, or them throwing something crazy out at us. But yeah, just dealing with what they normally do is tough. They're just so tenacious on ball, and you know, if they have two great defenders that could match up against, you know, some horsepower that we needed to get going offensively. So
yeah, the one girl who I always is like fascinating for me to watch whenever I've seen her play is Ep5. I feel like she talent wise is just really, really good. Like I just don't feel like there's a lot of players in the AUS necessarily like her in a lot of ways, right? Like, she can handle it pretty well, you know, shoots it a little bit, but has like some legit post moves inside. I just think she's a pretty unique player in a lot of ways. Whenever I see her play, her talent just kind of like really shows up to me. She just kind of her overall game. She's not quite as athletic, but kind of like the skill level of like Ashley Steven, who I coached before. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of who she reminds me of a little bit, with how she can rebound and handle it a little bit. But anyway, she's just a player who I thought was going to be a really important piece, you know, going into this game.
Well, it's interesting too with Ep5 is she thought she was a 3-point shooter there for a little while, right? It's almost like Gambling had to talk her into get back to your bread and butter. And when they would go to her one-on-one straight post up, I mean, Sarsha Cadle's a great defender, and she backed her down a few times, especially when Rice was on her. They tried to get it in there, and you know, there was a couple key moments for sure for Carly Ep5. But getting back to what Neil was saying about the pace of the game, it was incredible. The first 3 or 4 minutes, man, the camera guy, you know, he was flexing his arms back and forth, back and forth. But what was interesting was the difference when PEI plays you guys, Glenn, and when they play maybe a lesser team is they didn't work you guys into too much of a frenzy where you sped up your game, right? Yeah, they were trying to take away the 3, but you got downhill. Haley McDonald had a couple beauty crossovers, you know, shook Rainford, like Neil said early on. Rachel was getting downhill hard a couple times in that quarter. So you guys weren't rattled by that, and it seemed like that had to be part of it. Just because you weren't going to get a 3, attack some other ways.
Well, so you're so used to each other. I think like we're pretty new, so they're probably a little less used to like that group that they were seeing. But like that group that they have, other than Rainford, like that group's been the group that we've seen for the last number of years, right? So I think you know, this is probably the year to see. I really noticed them getting a lot more comfortable. Like there is that moment where they just have a little bit more chemistry than they had, you know, maybe before. Rainford was a bit of a piece that they needed for sure. Take some heat off of Jenna May, particularly, I thought, defensively. But yeah, like their pace, like our pace was fun.
And they only played 6 girls, I think, too.
Yeah, like but they did it all season basically. Yeah. Like, you know, it wasn't kind of out of the question for sure for them. And you know, when you've got those 2 Jets in Ellsworth and Reese, you know, I would say that it's like if you could be a great outlet player, like a rebound and outlet player with those types of players with you, you could look really, really good. So, but yeah, they were the pace early was pretty wild, actually. It was
were you trying to attack like a matchup, or were you trying to attack anything in particular to start the game?
We're trying to get a little bit into our flow. Like we wanted to see if we can get a lot of touches on the basketball early. That's fairly normal for us, but and you know, early on, I to be honest, I wanted to see if we could get Jada going a little bit. You know, really wanted to see if we could, you know, get her confident taking her shot, but yeah, saw Rachel really kind of take off early, and
she was great.
She's just tough. Like it's that next matchup. It was a bit what we've been not missing. Obviously, it's been a good few years, but you know, having her as that legitimate, real third scoring option for us was huge, and she's kind of showed that off early.
Yeah, Jada had a really good look early, I thought. Yeah, I think it was off an offensive rebound. Well, you guys got every offensive rebound in the first half anyway. But
we had to. we missed so much.
Well, that's true. But yeah, she got a couple really good clean looks early, and then but it was just such a good back and forth game, I felt. And man, like just seeing them on the floor, even at nationals too, just to like see how Jenna May is just so programmed into that right lane and just like sprinting. And there's so many key there as we get into it. There were so many key plays like in the game where she's just like, they just know each other so well because she's running that lane hard every time, right? And she never gets tired, and she's strong and gets to her spots. It's pretty uncanny how they're able to do that.
But
well, that's why she's frustrating, though, right? Because she's super frustrating because you know that she wants to do it with her right hand. You know that she's going to do, she's a special player, but like there's not a lot that happens with her game that's like, Paloma, or something that's just like it's a highlight reel type of play. It's just like she's death by 1,000 cuts, man. She just keeps coming at you and doesn't stop. And that's what's frustrating is you could tell, cut her right hand off. Don't let her go right. Don't let her go right.
It doesn't matter.
Says, I'm going to go right now. And
for sure,
nothing you're going to do about it.
So aggressive. Yeah.
That's what you knew, like what Jordan does, he's going to do it to you. What Matt Skin did back at the Sullivan Fieldhouse, you knew he was going to do it to you. But how frustrating is it? You say she's going to do this, and it happens anyway. It's a sign of a great player and a great team. But I know, like, the worst part about it is she's got a running mate now. Neil, you guys were talking a lot about in the truck in the first quarter about Reese Baxendale. She was scoring about a point a minute there, man, for a while the first quarter. It's
so impressive.
Rainford can't sneak it over the rim. Second chance coming up. Baxendale for three. Splash! Reese Baxendale off to a good start.
And that outlet pass that she lands on the dime every single time, how do you defend that? You can't. So it's just that pass. What do you think when you see that starting to set up and you see Jenna May running down the right side, Coach? What are your thoughts?
Let's toss the jacket off, man. But
it's time. Here it goes.
But no, it's the thing with Reese too is I kind of like we obviously like this is a competition. These two teams have seen each other a lot over the last few years, and it's become a pretty good rivalry. And the thing that I love about Reese, particularly, I just think she's a competitor. Like she's just so tough out there, and the cool thing with her is it's a weird comparison, but I find that Reese and Haley Nickerson actually do the same thing to a defender, the same thing to the game a little bit. Is they're not quite in the same rhythm of the game. They're just at like a different tempo, a different cadence, and I think everybody says, "Oh, Reese is so fast, but it's her hesitations and her these little explosions that she has that those are the things that are really tough to guard. Like you can eventually kind of cushion and figure out a player that's playing 90 miles an hour the whole game. Mm-hmm. She doesn't do that. Like she's just out of cadence a little bit with everybody, and she's just so effective with it.
This has that mile-high three. Sorry, Coach.
No.
This reminds me of Christy Moore. I used to play at Acadia.
Yeah.
That ball goes straight up, and somehow it just never touches the mesh a lot. Yeah. It's tough. But, yeah, sorry, man.
No, the word – I was trying to find the right word. Watching Reese, too, I think, like, ornery is the only word that I can find because she's just, like – she just gets pissed off at, like, all the right things. I think if you're, like, coaching her, you're like, oh, this is great. I think if you were playing against her, you'd be like, man, like, what's going on? But she's just, like – she's just on that right edge. It's like she's right on the edge all the time. And if she, like, gets hit on her ass early in the game, like it just, it just like sets her off just a little bit to kind of keep going. But yeah, man, she's a good player. She likes that Scotiabank Center too.
Yeah, she's been pretty good there.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start talking here about an Acadia player. At 5:30, I believe Kelsey Rice comes in, and then that's when she just puts that 4 effort. 1 off a block rebound, off the glass rebound, glass rim rebound, and then she says, enough of this, plants her feet and goes straight up, gets the 2. What's it like being able to send her out there and just, work the offensive glass? We talked about it in the last women's episode that she would have broke a lot of AUS records if she was healthy for the majority of her time.
Yeah, like that's what you feel bad for Kelsey for. It's just like she had such a history of injury trouble and but then she also, I joke with Kelsey, is like she's the least concerned with her field goal percentage of anybody I've ever met. Like she gets those rebounds off of her own stuff a lot. But yeah, she has an uncanny knack for finding the ball, and it's a crazy comparison, I know, but like I'm watching Last Dance so much, and I just watch Rodman and the pride and the pride and the emphasis that he put on that area of the game, and it is a comparison. Like she does take that much pride in it. She really is excited to rebound, and she had so much punch for us in that area for sure. We always need that.
She didn't ask you to go to the Halifax casino for 72 hours, though, did she? In the middle of the season?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be the same as Phil on that one.
No,
That's the question. Where would Kelsey Rice go for a 72-hour vacation? That's the Twitter poll of the day.
That's
figure this out.
home in Beaver Bank.
that's an amazing question.
Oh, man. But it's like she got those football gloves on, like they're wide receivers with the stick 'em. Like the ball touches her hand and somehow gravitational pull comes her way. There's no one like in the women's side that I can remember. Guys like Leo Santil, I remember at Acadia used to be exactly that. You just got to be a warrior in there to go do it.
She's strong as an ox too, right? Like I think that sometimes like there's players out there that don't always look like they're as physically imposing, or that they're in the gym, they've been doing push-ups since they were a baby. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's some people that look that way, and then she's super fit and everything, obviously, but she's just been strong. Like I coached Kelsey when she was 16 in provincial team stuff, and she's just strong. Doesn't even realize how strong she is sometimes. So
yeah, and I think you have another great offensive rebounder coming up through the system there in Elizabeth Eels. Wow, I thought we'll talk about her as the game goes on, but I think you've got another window cleaner there, like just so good. So looking forward to talking Elizabeth as we go. But let's talk Rachel Trudeau, because she really had to step up in the first quarter as McDonald got 7. That's strange for that to be a quiet first quarter, but in my opinion it was. So what do you think? Trudeau just stepped up on defense, and then she worked the offense as well. She scored a couple big threes when it counted, and drove the lane as well. So what can you talk about her game that kind of helped cut up the Panthers defense just the slightest bit?
Well, she's strong. Like she is a physically strong player, and I think that helps against PEI because they're really, really physical defensively on ball. So she doesn't shy away from that. It kind of makes her a little bit better, and she likes to play against that. And where she shines for us, to be honest, she was the tough thing for us playing her for the entire time that Jenna May is going to play, but she was doing a pretty good job. In a lot of cases against Jenna May, it's just the hiccups were coming if we had to switch, or just a little bit of a wrong read or something. But yeah, like Rachel was our best option to deal with Jenna May, which was obviously made her a key cog in the wheel for us for sure.
Very nice.
Well, you tell me. I've been thinking this all year. Calling some of your games, it feels like her basketball IQ has gone from like a 5 to a 9 in one offseason. Like her shot selection this year, her ability to see the second level, when to drive, when not to drive. Has become a really adept passer, I think, from year to year. Maybe that's a big jump I'm seeing, but you guys are making it happen with it.
Well, I think it was always there. Like it's full credit to Rachel. Like I don't think it's anything that we do. It's just what she's done, and I was thinking like Martin Lawrence and Bad Boys. Like she just needed to woo-saw. Like Rachel, it was always there, but she needed to kind of calm down and put the tools in the toolbox instead of leaving them all over the shop floor, right? So she was, she's been super talented. She works as hard as you could find. Like she puts a ton of time in the gym. So yeah, it's fun to see her performing really well. That's what it's exciting for me or any of the coaches to watch her, just as somebody who has put the time in, and now you're kind of getting rewarded with, with great performances on the big stage.
Hey, Neil, can you put a Bedeck metaphor counter at the bottom?
Yeah, sure.
Nobody's gonna have a clue. Yeah, all of our girls will know. They don't even know what I'm talking
just
about.
To check, just like a ding sound effect or something.
So we've had death by 1,000 cuts, toolbox on the floor.
But left the tools on the floor.
Boots are going to come out next.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Anything for you, Len, that you saw that you might want to, break down from that first quarter of play?
Nothing too much. I thought that we did what we kind of tend to do anyway, is we threw some zone at them towards the end of that first quarter, just try and mix it up, change the pace up, see if we can sneak out a few points. And yeah, I felt like I felt like we were on a treadmill going uphill for 40 minutes, to be honest. It was we just seemed to be trying to hang on. And even when we were up, we've been up big before and stuff, but it just never felt like we could get free. So we were hoping that we could sneak a couple points in here or there. I thought that might be able to add up over the course of 40, but it helped us a little bit at the end of that quarter, actually. But
normally, you're a guy who kind of holds on to the timeouts, right? And even in the first half, you never know towards the tail end of it. You took one in the first quarter, 7 minutes in.
yeah.
So a bit of a panic alarm thing. Not that the score wasn't getting out of hand, but something there you didn't like. And then after that, I think you put in some of that three-quarter court stuff you mentioned. What was that one all about?
It was mostly the first time out was like, if I remember correctly, it was mostly shot selection. Like we always talk about the heartbeat of the basketball and not letting it die. And I just thought that, it's again, you never put it at anybody. It's just, I think that, and ultimately, like Haley and Jada felt like they did need to go, like for us to win, and then it was just we kind of had a bit of a period of time there offensively, particularly where the ball wasn't moving. It was just a lot of dribble and you're letting them guard you one-on-one, which is absolutely their forte. Like that's what they're the best at. So that was our big emphasis then, was just get the rock moving around, and the more that everybody's touching it, like they're gifted, but like it's got to move, like it has to move for them to kind of be the end line of that stuff, and I think we're way better in those moments. But we needed a breather too, to be honest. I felt like our legs were heavy early, and it wasn't what I was looking for right away, for sure.
So the first quarter ends 18-17. Acadia is up 1. Second quarter starts, and it's Trudeau again. She goes back right to work. She backs Rainford into a corner and gets an and one.
Here's Roberts. Out to Trudeau on the drive. Count it, and one.
Ellsworth has a wild 2, and then she goes back-to-back 3s. They tie the game up, and you call a timeout. What's going through your mind at this point?
Well, it wasn't even that. It was the sequence in that second cue. Like we had been doing a half decent job on Jenna May, and then, like if I remember that sequence, she was right hand under the bucket for kind of opposite to what I said, was like a bit of a circus layup. Like she went under the bucket and finished over her head. And then the next play down, she hit a 3. We went under a screen, which, she's going left, and we went under screen. So it's bad read. She whacks a 3. And then it was the next play down. She hit another 3.
Here comes Ellsworth now. Ellsworth. Rayford, she'll swing at the Baxendale. Ellsworth for 3. Puts it in. Back-to-back 3s. Oh! Jenna May Ellsworth ties it up at 25 apiece, and Len Harvey will call timeout.
We just kind of lost her a little bit, and we were playing hands down. So, I don't know. It was just a cross matchup on the third one, but she had like an 8-point run on her own.
90 seconds,
and that's like that's the death by 1,000 cuts. That's like her coming at you and doing what she does, and we had to stop the bleeding at that point. It didn't matter what the score was. Like she was starting to roll.
Peter and I kept saying to each other, I think during the broadcast a little bit, or even maybe off cameras in the commercials, it just felt like you guys were 1 or 2 shots away from stealing all the momentum. Like Trudeau get that and one off the start. It was like a punch in the mouth. We're coming and one. Even though Jenna May was hitting those shots, Jada and Haley both created wide open looks for Rachel in those ensuing offensive possessions for you guys. Like no one within 6 feet of her, unfortunately, couldn't make those shots. Like if she hits one of those 2, it kind of breaks PEI's flow, like the next 3 from Jenna May doesn't feel as bad. Like it's just 1 or 2 shots. It's funny how that in a stretch of a quarter can really go a long way in telling the tale how it's going to ride.
Well, we were so bad from three in that first half, which, you know, to be honest, 5 years, like I've never seen us shoot that badly in any game. So, and I meant that. I meant what I said at halftime. Like it was, you know, to echo your point, Ad, was like they weren't bad shots. Like, you know, we probably, you know, we had a couple that were not unreal, but the rest of them were really good looks. So I wasn't, you know, and they were just getting more confident. Like if we're missing threes, you know, you miss 11 threes in the first half, and that's just a confidence.
Their game plan is working.
Right?
You know, they've walked you guys off the line. They start feeling it a little bit, I'm sure, by that time.
Yeah, and it's a bit like you know, I think Matt would probably say the same thing. Is like the game plan's working to an extent, but like it's the game's rolling in that direction a little bit too. Like we had some open looks. We were looking, you know, we looked okay at them, and I know, like I'm sitting there going, this should go in. He's sitting there going, oh, we missed we missed the rotation, we missed this matchup. We can't let them shoot that, and then it misses, and you know, I'm losing it, and he's just like, you know, that's good. Like it's just how the game goes, how any game goes, right?
I find watching PEI too, and I just wonder what it is as a challenge as a coach is that I find most of their actions are very like one side dominant. Like they do something on one side of the floor. I mean, there's just enough action happening on the weak side, but for the most part, you have 2 or 3 players engaged all the time, and the other 2 are just kind of watching what's happening. And there's just enough space that, you know, you have to get out to the shooter who's out there. But talk a little bit about the challenge as a coach to keep those other players engaged, because they're ultimately going to be the ones who are going to be making the stops or killing the play at the end, right? So like, but it is a challenge as a coach to keep those players engaged all the time.
Yeah, like it is, but it's like it's a tough one. Like Matt knows exactly where he wants to go, and because a lot of their action that's on that right side, where they'll pitch the elbow and get into their down screen handoff series stuff, it's Jenna May and Reese, and it's a weird guard combination because you really got, like, you can't switch that. It's a bad, like, you got to have some pretty outstanding defenders to say, yeah, we're switching this, because Jenna May, if you want to switch with a smaller defender, we can't switch with Haley or Mia because she's just going to go straight to the blocks and post us up. You know, both of them can shoot the three if you want to start going under things, and it puts you in a real problem in there, I find, with those two players particularly. There's some others that I think you can do some things with, but those two, because of how difficult they are to switch. But like you saw it, Matt, when we were watching them play in Ottawa, like, you know, Jenna May is, you'll play off her for a second, or you'll get kind of like excited to try and get ready for the down screen action, and then she just back cuts you at 90 miles an hour, and there's nothing you can do about it.
For sure.
And, you know, it's those moments there, I think, are that's what's really, really tough. He has them playing well, and they read that stuff. Those two particularly read it really, really, really well.
Yeah, and I think here's my Cape Breton saying for the episode. But I always say, when you go to nationals, I mean, the difference between playing in conference and playing at nationals is like having a fight with your brother versus having a fight with a stranger on the street. And so when you have a fight with your brother, you know, you can punch your brother in the face, you know what you're going to be getting back. But if you went and punched a stranger in the street, you're not really sure what you're going to get back. So when they could take a knife out, they could take a gun out, you know what I mean? You just never know. And that's what I felt like, again, when you're saying, like, watching them at nationals, they get a few more of their pet plays at nationals, you know, like a few more of the back cuts, a few more of the, you know, curls off the guard to guard pin down, you know, and then coming off and more open than they would get in conference, because you guys have seen them and prepared for them so much. And that was what was cool about rewatching this game, is just, and again, seeing them live at nationals, is just seeing how they're getting to all the layers of what they're doing, even though it's just very one side, but they're putting their very talented players in those actions all the time.
So what Matt's really trying to teach us here is, if you're picking a fight at the bar, you got to look for the cauliflower ears. You know those ears wrestlers get that get puffed out, and fighters, MMA guys? If you see that, back off.
Oh yeah, don't do that.
Don't pick a fight with those guys. That's what he's really trying to tell us. But it's just a sidebar.
You spend more nights at the Capri than all of us, Adam. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
dude.
you're right. Yeah.
There's a lot of walking down the hallways at Beck. That's
So we're at the timeout, and something that I just wanted to take note of was that, Haley McDonald is so skilled, but after that timeout, you draw up a high screenplay for Jada, and Haley just absolutely thumps. It might be Jenna May, actually, who runs into that hard screen, and it just proved to me that, she's willing to do whatever it takes. And for you to set that screen up for, a very skilled player, that's nothing for a coach. Is that, I'm an outside fan. It's basketball. You set McDonald in there, you'd set Cadel in there.
Well, but you got to think of what's going on and what they can't do too, right? And not what we can't do, but what they can't do, or maybe what they don't want to do. And for Haley, they had actually thrown Jenna May and switched her on to Haley at that point as Jada was struggling to get going.
That's right. It's Rainford that runs into the screen.
Yeah, and Ellsworth was guarding Hales, and to be honest, Neil, I can't even lie. Haley's the toughest player I've ever coached in my life. Guy, girl, anything. Haley's as tough as they come, and she's got a chip on her shoulder. So it's you tell her to set a screen, she's just going to kind of smile, and she likes that. I think put her in ball screen and roll. I don't think she'd be very effective, but she can set a good back screen.
I'll talk about Haley a little bit again, just because, obviously last year in the same matchup, she had the historic game, right? So, Rainford being the new player that they kind of put on her this season to kind of change things up. But, obviously, Haley might expect to score 51 every game because she has that mentality that of a scorer, right? But, what did you feel like her mindset was? Obviously, she got going early. I think Vince talked about a little bit during the broadcast that it just seemed like a little bit rushed, just like a tad. It wasn't like anything crazy. I just wanted to know what your perspective was, kind of seeing your player who had 51 in the same matchup last year, and kind of what her mindset was, throughout the second quarter going into the third.
Yeah, I think they did a better job this season, particularly. That sticks with you too, right? 51 is
for sure.
There's somebody in some team that happened to, right? And that kind of, it sucks as a Raptors fan. I always remember Kobe's game too, right? So it's going to happen somewhere. And I think they did a good job. She was, I didn't find that she was as rushing as much as she was just struggling to get daylight. And obviously she's a gifted scorer, but she's a really, really great passer. And she loves to get her teammates involved as much as she can. But they did a good job of not rotating a lot, but just throwing a body at her. So she just wouldn't see any space. And so she wasn't creating there weren't a lot of big openings to find that next layer of player behind it. And so she was kind of struggling to read through some of that stuff, I thought. But
not to cut you off, but it was weird because I know Haley's not the biggest player in the AUS, but she got a step back jumper blocked, I think, at one point in the first half, right? And that's just not something that you see ever from her, right? So.
Well, and then just fighting it too, right? Just not, she's a bit of an attempt player too. She needs to, her percentages and, player efficiency is really good, but she does need her attempts up. Mm-hmm. She doesn't get to the line as much as say a Paloma used to or whatever, right? So if she's gonna cook, she's gotta find daylight, and they did a good job with just their length and quickness to take some of that daylight away. For sure.
Well, along those lines of that, I wrote it down as a note saying it was cool for the role players. She got in a little bit of an exchange with Claire Ayotte there at about 35 seconds left.
Vino for three, and Vino can't get it to fall. Struggling from that distance. Ayotte on the drive. Ayotte to the rim, and Ayotte lays it in. Outstanding play there by Ayotte, being aggressive off the bench for the Axewomen.
Claire gets it. She's wide open, but she sees Haley not as open, but still open. So I'm feeding it to Hales, right, to the star. I'm giving it to her. And Haley's just that little bit gun shy right then, right? I thought it was going up 100%. and then she passed it back. Claire got it back somehow in the sequence. And to Claire Ayot's credit, got downhill, got the bucket at the rim. Nice to have role players. So I intended this as a shout out to her, but it did speak to Haley's mentality a little bit that's a 10 times out of 10 shot in the regular season. And maybe she's thinking about that block or something, just not feeling as in rhythm in that moment.
Yeah, and it's for her, it's like if she can get going, she just scores so well at all three layers, or all like four layers of the offense, right? And the big thing for her was like, if you take the three away, like she's just going to punish you. But that was the problem, was we weren't shooting it well. So if she was kicking it out, we were bricking shots. And then the next piece is like, every time she'd do anything, if she'd bat her eyelash to the 3-point line and get by somebody, then it was just, you're seeing 400 bodies, coming at her. And it's just, she struggled to find a bit of a rhythm through that. But, and we did too collectively, we couldn't get a rhythm going. So,
but still, you chipped away at that stone, right? Like, they were forcing you off the 3-point line, but after your timeout in particular, there was 4 pretty good looks at the rim. You scored on 2 of them, and Lizzie Beals had a naked layup she just happened to miss in the third shot. So, like, it wasn't that you were intimidated by the defense inside. Like, you were just, like you said, just chipping away slowly and surely. Yeah,
like it's and I thought, like, you're dead on at. It's like, I thought that we missed a couple bunnies and stuff, that just in that environment, like you're just like, oh man, we need that. Like it's so close with that stuff, but it's like a missed free throw, or it's like agonizing sometimes with that stuff. But it's to me, it was seeing them go out and really, they started to execute some elbow back screen stuff that we ran it all season, but so they could read it well. And we were getting into some secondary stuff with some screens that they were going to struggle with, like not to guard, but to switch it or do some of the things they normally do. So we could post up. Like, we got Jada a couple of looks and posted up. We got Rachel a couple of looks posted up. So yeah, nothing was going in outside of 4 feet. So we needed to find something inside the charge circle.
So that'll bring us to halftime, guys. And it's 37-31 UPEI at that time. Then the third starts, and Mia Roberts just goes off the charts. She looks so good, and it was exciting. She hits a 3. What did she do? Back-to-back threes.
Cato now. She'll swing it to Roberts. Roberts for 3. Splash! And Roberts knocks down the 3. Tough shot. She's got 14 now. Here's Cleacho Trudeau had an outstanding first half. Roberts back-to-back. Roberts knocks it down.
How did it feel on the bench? Obviously, everybody was excited to see those threes go in for Roberts.
Well, you're just celebrating those kids. Like, it's, these guys know, it's, any coach knows there's some kids that, like, they get it all the time. Like, I'm probably not going to go crazy for Haley if she hits a 3-point shot or something, right? But Mia having that moment, like, that's a special moment for Mia. It's, I think, to be honest, like, she put us on her back in the start of that half, and just that toughness and character that she brings to the table. It's just same as Claire getting that layup, like pump fake layup. It's those are the moments. It sounds strange, but it's like I just want to jump out of my shoes, for that kid at that moment. Like, they're on the big stage. It's their moment, and they're performing well, and they're kind of shining, right? And we needed Mia. We needed her bad at that point.
She's that sleepy assassin. Sorry, Matt.
No, go for it.
What I find was so cool about it, that, they were all pumped, high five. She just had this, like, yeah, give me my high five, give me my free throw. I'm ready to roll. And right after that, Jada started forcing a little bit. I think she had 3 misses in a row. Mia said, all right, I'm going to get us back into it defensively. Has a strip, down in transition. This is minutes later, right? It wasn't like she went off and that was it for the game. Got a transition and one going there. You need, like, in the playoffs, man, it can't always be 51 from Haley, we're going to roll. You're going to need the X factors. We talk about it every podcast. And she was that in the third quarter.
Well, she took a charge too. Like, that was it was in the midst of her offensive stuff. Like, she took a charge, and that was, it was just such a sequence of events, possession by possession. It was all Mia Roberts at the start of the third Q, which is great.
No, it's good. I felt kind of going into that third quarter too. Just thinking about it from the coach's perspective is, I know what you were talking about at half and, what you talked about with Alan, but, again, it's such a fine line in a final to say, hey, we didn't play very well, but we're still in the game versus we're not playing very well. Like it's, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's such a fine line there because there's so much emotion and there's so much added pressure to that situation where, I think on one hand, I totally agree. Like you go 0 for 11 from 3, you finally get off this night in the second half and you're still right there in the game. But kind of as it ticks along and the clock keeps going, it just starts to feel a little bit different, because does that half turn into a third quarter of you not playing where you feel you should be playing? Is PEI, just that much better at doing what they're doing today than what you're doing? Mm-hmm. So it's such a fine line all the time as a coach of like when to push the buttons and when to kind of sit back and say like, no, I know you got it. Like, I know you guys got it today versus like really getting them revved up. And I couldn't remember if it was in the third quarter when you started really going. I thought the jacket for you was going to come off there. But I mean, like I said, it's just such a fine line, right? That you're trying to find that to have the pulse of your team to know exactly what they need at that right time.
Well, the tough part with these two teams, to be honest, is I don't think that in the AUS for sure, like Munn to an extent this year, but not to the same extent as Acadia and PEI. Like it was in the women's game to be able to spurt to have like a 12-point lead or something and really not feel very safe. Mm-hmm. There's like those are the two teams that I think you're kind of wary about, where that can evaporate really fast. The struggle for us is that we need the 3-ball going to really eat into that. It got going in the third Q, but a little bit, but not from the usual suspects, I guess. So that was, and that's a bit of a struggle there. But you're dead on. Like it's, just trying to figure out like what the next brilliant thing, I guess, that the other team's going to do, and then trying to match that a little bit earlier, take the wind out of their sails, try and pull some momentum away where you can. And like they were, I thought UPEI always throughout the whole season, actually, like they are a really good momentum killer. Mm-hmm. Like they do that all season. Like they just have a way of, you get that little run and you feel like you're getting some momentum, and then whack, it's the 3, or they're really, really good at that.
Well, that's kind of the question that was running through my mind in the context of what Coach Skin is saying, is that it's hard when, like, we've all coached games where you're one of your top guns is just not shooting it well. Let's face it, Jada didn't have a great night in this final. It happens to everybody. But it's hard as a coach when to say you're gone from the green light. Like, she's never getting the red light to shoot it. But it's a tough conversation to say, hey, I might be throwing up yellow. Or Matt, if you're talking to Ozzy Omar saying, buddy, it's not going tonight, you got to trust someone else. It's a delicate conversation. And every personality is different. But it'd be interesting to get both your guys' thoughts on that.
Well, it's like with her, and I don't even mind saying this, is I wanted her to shoot it more. I wanted her to, keep going, because her thing with them a bit was a reluctance to shoot. And, I didn't mind her shot. Jada have for whatever people's opinion, it's everybody has their own opinion of players and stuff, but her skill set, like I don't know anybody, and it's her and Haley, you know what I mean, that have this bizarre skill set, left hand, right hand, inside, outside, mid range, floater series, and that's why I didn't mind that she got into a lot of floater stuff and some counters. But you watch her all season, that's what she does. She's a 6-foot guard, and she's going to shoot some of that stuff over you. And there was a moment there, it was 3 or 4 misses there where I thought the shots were like Jada shots. and it was just saran wrap on the hoop. They weren't bad ones. They were rimming out, and it was, and then it just kind of keeps, as a shooter, I think it just keeps going downhill when you're not seeing it go through the mesh.
Yeah, I think that goes back to your point where you were talking about before. Well, I think we've talked about it on other podcasts, is like what team is going to stay truest to their self and at this point of the year. Like how are you going to play that's closest to who you are? And I felt like you guys did. Like I felt like the ball was moving from side to side. I felt at times, just as an observer, there's just because of the time of year too, there's probably a few more sets from you guys than a little bit than normal, rather than just flow. But that was also a process of PEI shooting the ball pretty well too, right? And you guys getting the ball out of the hoop. But I thought that's what PEI did too. As much as we talked about Reese and her being tough, and I think they're very much a reflection of their coach. And Matt is just like even keel all the time. Never raises his voice, is always the same, and their team's just kind of the same. Like they don't, that's why I think we're in here talking about them being momentum killers, but I just think for them it's just, this is just what we do. Like we're just going to do the same thing every single time, and we're going to play defense the same, we're going to play offense the same, and we're going to get our hoops and we're going to get our stops. And that's what it felt like with them this year, that they really kind of embraced that as who they were.
And also to their sorry.
Yeah, like I find that Jenna May kind of really embodies that
for sure.
Like in terms of her leadership, and it kind of as an extension of Matt. But then, like at the same time, me, like our dispositions, Matt's disposition and my disposition couldn't be more opposite. And it's there's no apologies for that, and neither would he apologize for his. It's just kind of being authentic to who you are. But I think every team needs some jam. Like I think that every team needs some intensity, like some public displays of it. And I think going back to like you're chatting about Yepes and stuff, like Yepes does that and Reese does that, and they bring a little bit of fire in those moments. Like you're going to see that swagger from Reese when she hits a shot that she knows is a big shot in that moment, or Yepes is going to be fired up when there's a big defensive play, or like they bring a bit of that jam to it, like a little bit more public, like pump you up and kind of get you going that way. And where Jenna May is just, an assassin, right?
She did it late. She did it late, and I might be jumping too far ahead, but I think she got an and one late, where it was like the first time maybe in her career where she was just like, she got it up that right side like she normally does, and made it. And she went crazy and double high five to everybody like on the floor, right? And really, really felt good about it.
Well, what I like about Yepes and Reese is that it's genuine. Like there's a lot of people that hit that three and it's manufactured, right? They're going around shooting the arrows. Like, give me a break. They're actually saying, I'm fired up. Like, come join me, teammates. Like that's what I like about their like genuine fire, but it all amongst the calm kind of team thing. And what I was thinking the whole time watching the game was this group is kind of late in their career. Like the window's running out for them. And I was wondering in the back of my head, was the nerves going to set in? Because you guys took some runs at them. And I was thinking, are they going to think, oh, this is it. We have this. We have not many cracks at this thing left. But they just stayed the course. And again, that's Matt Gamble, and that's not talking about that stuff. That's being set up in the right mindset. And they pushed a ton of right buttons, man, both physically and mentally.
Yeah, like you could easily have a complex there. Like most people don't really remember that or know that. They certainly do, and we obviously do too. But like, in the last 4 seasons up till this season, like we had eliminated them from playoffs. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, it's every game that they had played in Scotiabank Center to finish their season was with us. And so, it's different teams, but like that stuff plays in. Like I think it does anyway. I think that stuff is like that's where you pull some of the emotion from, and you pull that drive and grit and determination from those types of experiences. In my opinion, you don't fault them for it. It's they should be fired up, and just like we're going to be fired up as much as we can be, right? So
yeah, I noticed you guys in the fourth quarter, especially you guys went to a little bit more full court pressure, went to a little bit of the 1-3-1 to kind of switch things up, change the pace of things. And Neil can correct me here. What did they? I think you guys got it to 2 or 3.
62-59.
62-59. Yeah, you guys started feeling pretty good, and couple steals, some runouts kind of push that pace back. And yeah, I thought it was right there. I don't disagree with your observation earlier though, Len, where you guys were fighting so hard to get that close, and it just you just couldn't feel. I wonder how it felt as a coach, being on the floor in that situation, because I feel like as a fan a lot of times, and when you're watching, it's like, oh, this is a close game. But when you're sitting there as a coach, the feel is a lot different. Like, what were you feeling then when you got it to 3?
Well, it felt like a game, honestly, and we've been in some different ones, but it felt like you just bend them, and you'd get that close, and we're close to like a big shot or a stop and a stop and a score or something. We were there to like possibly a play or two away from them really reeling and going, oh, here we go again. You know what I mean? Like having those feelings come up from the past few years or whatever it is. And it just never, like they had those momentum moments where they just kind of squashed them, when they needed to, or, we got running there at the end of the third quarter for like playing as badly as we played in that third quarter, and we let it get away from us in a number of different moments there, and then just had a run at the end of the third quarter again. But we're kind of opposite of saying about PEI, like they do what they do and they do it well, and like we're at that point, like we're throwing the kitchen sink at them. Like we're throwing different defenses. You talk about like our 1-3-1, like we didn't play a possession of that all season. We had been practicing it for that type of situation, but we're throwing everything we can at them to try and change the pace of the game a little bit and try and generate some stops that could lead us to scores. Like if we could live ball turnover a little bit and get running, I thought that we could get a little bit of momentum, but we were struggling to score at that point anywhere.
So as kind of the emotion guy, I got to go back to when Lauren Rainford fouls out. And I just want to talk about what a spectacular job she did guarding Haley in the first quarter to come up with no fouls. That's a tough young lady to chase around the floor and not, drag an arm here or there. Or as a first-year rookie, I want to make this play, I'm going to foul her. Although she does foul out early in the fourth, I thought she did a really great job hanging tough with Haley McDonald, Vino, everybody. And for the emotion that she showed when she fouled out, it gave me goosebumps, and I thought it was a really special moment, just to see what it means to these women. It's so special. So what did you think, when she fouled out and you saw a bit of emotion there? I'm sure as a coach you love seeing that.
Yeah, like I didn't see it until, kind of watching the game back and you in that moment you're just saying, thank God, like get off the floor.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Or, good call, Manny, like get her out of here. Like this is perfect. She just, again, like I have a lot of respect for a lot of those kids, just competitors and Matt too, and just like how they do it. And they're on the floor, like they just get after it. She gets after it. And again, it's rivalries or whatever. Like that's what you play for. I find people kind of struggle. And I'm not in the generation of like, we're Last Dance talking and stuff, but like I'm more in that generation. Like when we're going to play, like we're strapping up here. Like this is not, friends,
friendly.
Friends and friendly and like, let's compete. And I respect you a lot. And like, I know a lot of our kids like Haley and those and Rachel and those guys really respect you a lot when you do that. And Lauren had just an outstanding game for sure. Defensively, she had some key offensive moments too. So it's just really excited to see her for the next 4 years.
Yeah, that's what exactly. She's gonna be so special, and the league is just covered in talent. So had to mention Rainford, and it was a great moment to get to see her celebrate at the end, but to show that emotion fouling out early in the fourth. I can throw it over to you, Adam. You got something you want to touch about next?
Well, I was going to get to Rainford, so it's a beautiful segue there because that's when they were really on the ropes, man. Like right about a minute in, Jada got 2 free throws right at the start of the fourth, and the 2 shots went in. So the question was, is she going to find her stroke now? Good shooters do that from the line. Sure enough, not long after, bang, Jada hits a 3. Haley gets one soon after that. Rainford fouls out again. So all of a sudden, PEI fans everywhere are saying, here we go again. Gamblin calls a timeout. I thought he was going to call one earlier, but he let it slide a little bit. I thought Jenna May got to the line on Cato blocked her shot, but it helped them get through that. The rate of there, Rainford fouled out, then soon after at the 5-minute, 30-second mark, that 3-point game, 62-59. And I think it was more of a defensive thing. What are we going to do without Lauren? You know, we'd have to ask Gamblin that. But they came out and just really settled back in. Another 3-bomb happened from Reese Baxendale, kind of stemmed the tide. And really, it you guys never got another point on the board after that. So,
yeah, like it's, you know, it was at that moment, like it was, I don't know, it's funny, like you go through this stuff, but we had to we were still trying to generate stuff defensively to get us going. And we did pick the ball, I think a couple times actually. And we had one in particular where we ended up, I know Mia picked it. I think she tossed it ahead to Jada. We ended up turning it over in that moment, and then Jada fouled. It was, and I just, yeah, it was those kind of moments, like it was, you know, we were around 3.5, I think, at that point in the fourth quarter left. And it's close, but still, like they were just bending, like they hadn't broken at all yet. And we just couldn't get it going offensively. And to be honest, once we had a sequence right after that, I thought that was when they won the game, to be honest, in that sequence. I think we gave up 3 or 4 offensive rebounds in a sequence, and then Reese hit 3, and the game was over. And, you know, I learned that, you know, I coached with Fabe for a number of years, and I just, we had talked about that before. I talked about it with different coaches. To me, it's the spread is whatever. Like to be honest, it is like I could care less, because we're not you're not playing for anything at that point. Like you're playing to win. So you toss the spread out the window, and we're still like, we have to scramble, and we have to kind of create some different ways to generate some offense for ourselves. And at that point, it's going to either work real well for you, or it's going to work real bad.
Well, to stick with the fighter theme, once you're down in the fight, you got to start taking some risks looking for the knockout, and you expose your chin. That's just how it goes. And then 100%. You're either knocking them out or they're knocking you out at that point. And it's just, that's sports, man. That's how it runs.
Yeah. And there's always those plays. And I mean, I'm sure you can talk about it in the championships that you've won, Len, in the past. There's just always that one play that you kind of remember that's not necessarily it's not necessarily that shot or that spectacular shot, but there's always kind of that play, you know, whether it be that hustle play or something like that kind of galvanizes things at the end. And I agree, it was those multiple offensive rebounds where they got 2 really good looks and Reese hit that 3. You know, that was such a backbreaker.
Yeah, it's just I thought that, you know, it's bad to say it, but it's like it's because you still got about around 3 minutes or so left in the game, but they had it all at that point.
For sure,
they had it all at that point, and we were grinding.
Right on. Well, that's the ball game. Anything you guys want to add to that? You know, I can give the final score, but anything you want to touch on before I wrap it?
Well, I think that the culture piece, we talked a lot about PEI's culture. Despite the spread getting big, despite having got knocked just about down and out, down big, 30 seconds left, just talking hustle plays. There's a loose ball. Mia Roberts is on the floor, full floor burn, trying to go for this thing, down 19 points, 30 seconds. Right? That's culture, man. That's why it's a rivalry between Acadia and PEI. That's why AUS basketball in general is pretty special, because stuff like that happens. Like little girls in the stands watch that happen, and their dad can say, you know, she's losing, right? And it's those moments, man, that I find are so cool.
Yeah, and there's just so many. As to Matt's point, is like even the moments. Like I still remember in our first championship, like the moment that we won the game was when Chanel Smith dove on the floor for a loose ball, and it was like in the second quarter. I was just, we're not losing this game. You know, like it's just it's those types of moments. And to be honest, I thought Jenna May had one of those in the third quarter. I think it's third quarter, fourth quarter. She just went end to end. Basically, we got rolling a little bit, and she got an outlet pass at about their free throw line, and she came full court, full steam ahead, right-handed, right in her right lane. And it was just like people hanging off of her the whole way and just couldn't stop her to the end. I think that was actually the play that when she collided with Sarsha there at the rim. There's plays like that where you're just like, the players make that we're just not losing today.
I just remember when we were coaching together, and there was that when we won, there was that play of like 15 straight loose balls against Acadia when McCormick was on, and then Kelson, and then Kay on. It was just those things like that happened, and those are the things that really stick out for me as a coach. That's for sure. So,
yeah, I don't get a chance to get one up on Coach Harvey too often, but we were both assistants at one point. Like at the AUS final, we had Jazz Parent come into the game as a 6th man, and Jazzy was good. She's in great shape that year, contributed, but went just bonk ridiculous in the second half. And just you can look down to you guys, and you guys, man, you game planned a lot. That wasn't one of the things, And but it's like that's the moment you guys are talking. We all have it, right? Those moments are really awesome. You're like F and A, let's go.
Yeah, no, I still remember that. Like and you're right. Like sometimes it's your day, right? And it's full credit to those teams, full credit to those players. Like everybody puts so much time in. It's like I think too many people play that off of like we work harder than they do, or we do this more than they do, and it's just like, well, I don't know. Like maybe you do. I'm not sure, but I think this
I can say that. That's about it.
Yeah, like at this point, are we really saying that like at this point of the season that these two teams are that like diametrically opposed in terms of how hard they work or how much they want it, and it's like we're gonna compete and it sucked. You know what I mean? It's not a fun feeling for sure, and you want to get that done, but it's really hard to win. I know that those the coaches who've been through this stuff, I want to pick Scott's brain on that sort of thing. It's like the just the mental side of kind of being that target for a while, and to be honest, I thought we had it before we even won a championship. Like when because we had been kind of rolling when we got upset the year. With Paloma and Allie and Chanel and that crew, and so it was kind of like it's a tough it's tough to wear that for so long, and so PEI can have the bullseye for a year.
I'm ready for the rematch. We got to fast forward to your final next year. Like there's not too many players leaving either team. Like it's on again.
Yeah, it's a lot of the same players. Who knows? It's coronavirus, and with all these international kids, if we'll all be, if they'll make it back from wherever. But we'll be picking up a kid from, another kid from down the road, or maybe even Middleton or something. I don't know. But
Neil's going to be playing for the Capers next year.
Dude, I've been practicing so hard, man. Honestly, I'm in the driveway every day. Dude. I'm ready. Get me the orange jersey.
All you guys got 5 years of eligibility left, I think. So,
sign me up.
Right on, guys. But I think I'll wrap it with that. I'm staring at 2 minutes, and we don't want to lose this record. So that's a great game. Thanks so much, Len, for going through that one more time with us. Much appreciated.
Thanks for forcing me to relive it again, guys. And great.
That was fun, boys. Good time.
Yeah, no, it's been great, guys. Adam, Matt. And like I said, maybe we'll do a Paloma Anderson championship game here, and we'll have Len back on. So definitely looking to continue this action. It's been great to have you.
Right on, boys.
Right on.
Take her easy.
See you guys.
And the Dalhousie Tigers. So the final, 78-59 for the Panthers. They will move on to the U Sports Nationals in Ottawa, and they get the job done. So thank you for watching AUS Women's Basketball presented by Subway, and we'll say so long from Halifax.